What's going on there, Dustin?
What up?
I'm gonna start out real quick, and we're gonna let some people jump on. But I had a few comments last week that on YouTube, especially everybody asking, "What is your YouTube channel that you're posting your videos on?"
Hashtag 10K Crappie Connection. I'm just joking. Are you talking about me?
Yeah,
Mine?
yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. There's a couple with Bobby Garland Baits right now. So um, I'll have to get a specific name because there's 2 or 3 different pages. But I want to say it's Bobby Garland TV or
Yeah,
yes, something like that. Gosh dang, I suck. That's a good question, but no, I'll get the name of it next week. That just means they got to tune in next week.
I had a few comments last week on YouTube, people asking about that, and so I wanted to address it right in the beginning. I see we got some people signing on. There's Mr. Charles Henderson. He's a faithful follower. They hear
He
every week.
is.
Appreciate you, Charles.
He's one of the first ones every time.
Man, he's Johnny on the spot. There's Holden. He really knows what I'm gonna say too. Appreciate that Holden 10K
My
crappie
man,
connection.
Holden Higgs too. See, he hops on there all the time too. He's pretty faithful.
What's up
And I
there,
can
Mr.
say
Perry?
he's beating him up out there.
Guys, we got some good stuff tonight. I got some good stuff in mind tonight, and hopefully y'all got some good questions for us. And I want to hear some good fishing reports tonight. And I got some different things going on this week that I'm kind of excited about myself.
Not the bachelor party.
That's still later to be discussed. But
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, I got my wife's birthday was yesterday, so I got to take her out on
Ooh.
a guided trip with me. She was the first mate, I guess you would say. We had a very good time. She didn't unhook a fish or anything like that. She tried to pick up one from the floor and then screamed a little bit, and so she dropped it and didn't put it in there. She wasn't the best deck mate, but she did a good job overall.
Tell her
Appreciate everybody coming in.
tell her I said happy late birthday.
I will. I definitely will. Appreciate you guys joining in. We got about 80 people. We'll hit that 100 mark, and we'll
up,
kick
Mark?
out today's bike with everybody. Brad Egger, what's up, bro? Jeff, Jim Churchill. I tried to call you back, Jim. I got your voicemail this afternoon, and I think you hit a Nord on me. There's Chad Wright. Where you been at, Chad? I haven't seen you on
I
the
think
late.
you ignore on me.
Another
Hey, tip
name?
today. If you guys hear anything I say today with this hot weather, make sure you're drinking plenty of water. Holy smokes, you can get dehydrated quick.
It is hot. It is definitely
Thanks
hot.
for that. When you wait till you're thirsty, it's too late. Right, Brad?
That's right.
And there's
Another
not
thing.
enough water in beer. So good try.
Another thing I've been doing here, probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, when you're talking about water, I have got those ice. Was it liquid IVs?
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
tried those?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Those are a tremendous help for me out there on the lake.
Absolutely. We've got those as well.
Freddie got some reports coming in. Hey, Mr. Greg Ladner.
Hey, we
Justin.
need some fishing reports. We didn't get very many last week. Let's get some fishing reports of how everybody's doing, what lake, and how things are going. I seen Holden said he's still smoking them in Louisiana, Roman, 80-degree water temp.
Dustin, go ahead and hit your today's bite, and then I'll hit mine after you.
All right. Yep. Still, we're starting to see a lot more fish on my summer spots. I told you last week it's kind of slowing down. This week it's starting to pick up a lot more. It's like a whole new lake. The numbers are finally showing that should be. And summer pattern, like I said, is starting to line out. Today we fished shaded areas, brush 11 to 15 foot deep, and they're starting to stack. So smoking them, fishing straight down on them. And we had a limit in about 2 hours this morning. So we did really well in and out, and getting in there before the heat gets super hot on you. But when I run 2 trips a day, that doesn't really help me much. Thankfully, I've got a bimini top on the boat, though, so we have some shade when you want to take a break and chill. But no, just fishing, starting to go towards the main lake. If you're wanting to catch, you can go back of creeks and stuff and still catch the heck out of fish. They're just a lot smaller. When you go to the main lake, the fish get a lot bigger. So I don't like messing with those small ones as much if I can keep from it. So I go towards the main lake a lot more and it seems like the average goes way up. So sticking towards the main lake, fishing structure, and piling them up. Hopefully it stays like that the rest of the summer because I'm going to be busy, hopefully.
Well, did I miss what baits were you using?
Let me just another thing. Thank you for saying that. I've been stuck on the Mayfly like the last month, I swear. But finally, I've got some good pictures of. I'll have to post on my page. They're stuffed plumb full of Mayflies.
Mm-hmm.
These crappie are full, and that's why I think. So I'll be on a school of fish. There'll be 1,000 fish sitting there, and it just is like slow and steady when you should just be ripping them out of there. And I think it's because the fish are just stuffed full of those Mayflies, not as active or feeding like I think they should be. Hopefully, when that hatch is over, they'll really pick up, and I bet the bite will even get better. But I got a question for you on the Mayfly. I was going to ask you this.
Yeah.
Why am I seeing these fish plumb full of Mayfly, but no Mayfly flying around?
You know, I see them here on the lake. I don't see as many if the wind's blowing a lot. It seems like on the days that you have light breeze or you'll see a lot across the lake, at least here on Ross Barnett. Now, when it's windy, I seem to really find them in areas that have wind breaks.
Gotcha.
For example, you know, if you have an island or any kind of docks, right on the opposite side of that windbreak, it seems to find a lot of mayflies for myself.
I was wondering if my client says that they come from the bottom, the larva will like float from the bottom to the surface and then they hatch out of it. So I was thinking, I didn't know if that was right or not. And that would make sense because I'm not seeing them yet, but the crappie are seeing them because they come from the water first. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, heck, maybe I was going to ask you, maybe hoping that you would know, but I didn't know if they come from, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But I don't know. I'm confused how all these fish are plumb full of mayflies and I'm not seeing them like normal.
They Jim Churchill kind of says what you said there. He said they're eating them as they come off the bottom. They call it.
Okay, so it's true. My gosh, I'll be dang. See, that is something I just learned this week. Then, so the larva floats to the top and then they hatch out of it, I guess. So I see a big mayfly hatch coming soon. I bet.
Yeah,
because all these fish that they're saying they come out of the mud. So that's crazy. Yeah. Okay. Man, you can see their eyeballs and everything in their stomach, and I'm like, I'm not seeing any mayfly. So I guess it's probably getting ready to start then. That is wild. That's cool.
Learn something new every day.
Dang right. So they come from the ground first, and I thought I heard that, but I wasn't sure if that was true or not. I was hoping I didn't sound like a complete goober. But they are cool. So mayfly bait, wouldn't you know it, is a moneymaker right now. And orange is still one of my favorite summertime colors, but blue ice. And anything with blue in this clear water is killing them too. But the mayfly is definitely the killer jig right now.
You know, my today's bite still here on Ross Barnett. I'm mainly concentrating on ledges, anywhere from really 10 foot to even 20 foot of water. Just some kind of ledge that has structure on it. And the fishing since last week has just been phenomenal. There's a lot of days that, you know, we'll go out 3 or 4 hours and have a cooler load of fish, and it's just been as good as it gets. You hear that terminology a lot, and, you know, we talk about what's the best time to crappie fish. I get that question asked to me being a guide, I don't know how many different times, but I would have to say the month of June is probably my favorite month to crappie fish. It kind of seems like the spawns are getting out of the way. They're getting in the summertime pattern. They're trying to feed back up and get their health going, and you know, the bites, whenever they hit it, it's just not a subtle bite. Most of the time it's an aggressive bite. And I'll go ahead and give you a secret on my today's bite. Bait of the week is going to be something that you're a little bit different than Dustin's here, wave profile difference. But today I went to this bait. Simple fact that today was probably the hardest day I've had as far as catching fish, not finding them, but actually catching them in probably about 6 weeks. And we had some rain last night, might have cooled off the water. Hadn't quite figured it out all the way. But right here is going to be my today's bait of the week, the itty bit swimmer. And I've been using the itty bit slab hunters a lot. And they've been really smoking them. Any kind of orange, from Grenada Gold to horsefly to Cajun cricket. long as it had orange in it, they were really just crushing them this past week, and really didn't even have to switch profiles or anything else. You just put on an orange itty bit slab hunter and cast it out there to them, and they would come back and really smoke it on these ledges that are just absolutely full of fish. But today I had to downsize even more. Now this bait is so small that I would definitely recommend pairing it up with the itty bit. Let me get it back in the camera there. The itty bit jig heads. This bait, I think this is let me see. This is a 1/64th. Now, what I like to do with this bait is actually have it at the end, have it at the very bottom jig. Now, up above it, depending on how deep these brush piles are, I might have a 1/8 or 1/16. So I'm going to have a heavier jig tied up 10 to 12 inches above that bait, and I want to have this itty bit swimmer on the back side. I think a lot of times when these fish get lethargic or just inactive, or they could be even full, that could be the case, because I see a running ton of shad in our lake right now.
That's what all I can put together when you're on those giant schools and they're just not acting normal. I think
they're full.
Yeah, I think we've ran into them at the wrong time, come back a couple hours, or maybe the next day you'll really whack them. But sometimes I have to leave those giant schools to go to different ones because they're not real active.
Yeah, I think I switched over and to this itty bit swimmer just because, like I said, these fish are so full. I don't think they're really knocking it and eating it just because it's kind of like a mosquito around your neck. You're just like, oh man, let me get this mosquito off me. And that's kind of the same way I see these fish reacting. They'll just suck it in. Most of the time, I see the bite before the clients actually even feel it. So I'll be like, all right, set the hook. And all I'm doing is seeing that fish reaction. If I see the bait coming beside them and I see them lunge for it, these baits are so small, they're just inhaling them. And when they set the hook at that point, they'll catch it. Now, if they wait too long, they'll spit them back out or just drag it out of their mouth.
They figure out their
fake. It is so small.
Yeah. It don't take them long to figure out what they bit was fake.
David, you're not too late. Appreciate you comment that. And I know we've got some comment over today's bite fishing reports already in here, and we'll get Dustin. I think he's ready. Man, look at him. He is Johnny on the spot. Start reading some of them.
What?
Yeah, get it?
Hey, don't catch me off guard like that. Edward says he's going to Grenada next week. Where is the best place to fish this time of year? Best jig and crankbaits to use on Grenada?
Grenada always seems like to me, any kind of ledges, like I said here, Main Lake points, Carver's Point. I like that Schooner area, that big ledge that runs down through Schooner this time of year. Long line and jigs. Orange has always been really good for me at Grenada. So I would throw some orange strollers out, 2/18s, and I'd take about 1.2.
Grenada Gold's a must.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You got me. But those Main Lake points are usually good on Grenada this time of year. I'm planning on fishing the Crankbait tournament there. I think it's June 24th. It should be a lot of fun. Be the first tournament that my wife gets to fish with me, and
that'll be
awesome. A relaxing, fun deal. So, PTG Outdoors is going to have it. I think it's going to be a really fun event. So, guys, if you ever want to come to Grenada and pull some crankbaits, I think that'd be a good time to do it. There'd be a lot of people there pulling crankbaits, sharing some information, and it's more or less like a fun tournament. That's really what interests me about going to it.
Are you going to go up there and stay, or are you just going to?
No, we're gonna go up, and I don't know if she'll work that Friday before. I will pre-fish it just because I like the competitive side of myself a little bit. So I probably will pre-fish a little bit, but it's a crankbait only tournament, so I'm looking forward to that, and I think it'd be really fun. But make sure you guys, as you're signing in here tonight, and you've been fishing this week, let's hear some of these fishing reports. I know I'm not the only one out there, and Dustin's not the only one. Charles Henderson, I know you're out there, man.
I also went to Kansas Lake on a special trip yesterday, and hadn't been there since the fall, so it's been a long time. And went out there. I had fished it at recent summers though, so I had a good idea where to look. And the lake is way, way low, so that was a different obstacle. still just kind of fish the same thing, some flats and some shallow stuff. And then on the channel swings, still fish suspended in the channel. And we whacked them. We had a trip of a lifetime for those guys. So that was awesome.
I'm about to get up there one day and play around with that.
Oh,
Brian Young, appreciate you coming on here, buddy. Like I said, every night, man, we've got some really good guys that help us out with these questions. If Dustin and I can't help you, I know these other guys are going to reach in and help you guys out. But it's, for me, tomorrow I'm heading to Sardis Lake. I'm going up there and fishing with, man, it's going to be a ton of different. It was a crappie magnet and the B&M big giveaway going on this weekend up there. So I'm going to go up there and do some podcast. And
is that going to be the big they had last year out there?
Yeah.
So didn't they fish Butler though?
Well, Butler, I seen that this afternoon. Butler's been on fire, Arca Butler. And if you're not familiar with that lake, it's right below Memphis, and it's a giant. I was hoping to actually sneak over there and fish it, but they actually closed it down.
Destroyed them there last year. Okay, got you.
Yeah, so that lake actually closed down, I think, this afternoon at sunset. But but I'll mainly be either at Sardis and Enid, planning on fishing one of those two lakes in the morning. Just going to go up there and pull some jigs, which
looky here. We got old Reggie Donner jumped on here. What's going on, Reggie? Reggie, give us a fishing report. I know he's fishing somewhere, beating on them. I got to get a fishing report, buddy.
Nathan White's got a 2-man limit on Wren Lake using BG.
I wonder what BG is.
That is Mr. Bobby Garland. And as always, everybody make sure share the love with Bobby Garland. These guys help us put on this show every week, and they definitely have supported me a lot through the years and listened to all these different crazy color ideas that I've came up with, like Grenada Gold, and got out there and produced them.
They Chad Rogers just gave you a fishing report, so when you beat him up at Sardis, it's because of him. Big fisher in 3 to 8 foot of water. Water temp is 78 degrees.
Well, I'm probably not going to go that shallow. Seen any squirrels eating mayflies yet? Jeff, I know where that comes from. I have not. That would be very interesting. I did see it on YouTube, though.
What did he say?
He says, seen any squirrels eating mayflies yet?
Oh.
That kind of goes back to the podcast we were talking about mayflies, and Todd Huckabee was saying about squirrels eating mayflies. Was a pretty interesting deal.
I got you.
Also, the same thing with that mayfly. The video that I shot, I guess about 3 weeks ago, using the Bobby Garland mayflies here on Ross Barnett. It was a day that I went out, and even on the video that I shot, you'll see mayflies flying by me and on the surface, and you'll see how these fish are really reacting to that bait as I put it out. We just released that last Wednesday, and man, if you haven't watched it yet, make sure you take a look at that video. It was a good deal. I was using the new B&M Black Diamond 16-foot pole and dropping these mayflies right in front of their face, and they would turn around and actually run down them and get them. Kind of the pattern that day that I had was, if I noticed fish that were suspended, they were really feeding. The ones on structure were actually just kind of sitting there chilling. But if I could find a fish out suspended, singles, they would just literally swim 6-7 feet and come get these mayflies. So if you haven't watched that video that I put out last week, make sure you do so. Mark, appreciate 10K, Crappie Connection. Greg has asked, what size jig heads with the TE? Well, with the itty bit swimmers, if you're asking me, I'm using a 1/64th on the back side, and a lot of times either I can put a mayfly or a baby shad on the front side with a 1/8, or that's what I would be throwing right now. Mr. Chad Wright, pulling cranks, how much line out? I'm going to get down to Chad Wright. I'm going to ask Mr. David there. You know, David, on the crankbait side of things, there's a precision trolling app that's out, and then you can purchase it for your iPhone or Android or whatever, and you can punch in there what style crankbait you're using and what kind of line, and it'll tell you exactly how much line to put out on your line counter reels. A good basic rule of thumb for me here on Ross Barnett, I'll kind of start out early in the morning, about 45 feet out, and then bump it up to about 60, 65 as the day goes up. And that's kind of just a standard procedure here. And that those baits are running about 8 to 9 foot deep, all the way to about 11 or 12 as the line gets further out, to answer that question.
There's Reggie Donner. He said Arcadia has 2 patterns: clear water, the white and black are stacked on piles; dirty water, flats 5 to 7 foot. The crappie are actively chasing shad and hard to target. That sounds about right, but I'm willing to bet he's chasing those 5 to 7 foot fish because they're a little bit bigger, if I had to guess. But thanks for the fishing report, brother. I appreciate it. What are you using for bait, though, Reggie? What are we using for bait?
Well, we got to keep asking that question.
Yeah, what kind of colors we using to chase those fish around? If they're chasing shad, I'm sure you probably got something with a shad profile, but it is muddy water, so you never know.
Chad Wright fished Lake Irving Friday and Saturday, 15 to 20 foot deep roaming schools on timber. They were on fire both days. Chad, same question. What bait were you using? What color? I know Chad is a big caster. He casts a lot to these open water fish, so I'm sure he's got it really dialed in down there. So I know he's fishing Magnolia probably this week.
That Mayfly video you were just talking about, where can they find that? Did you already tell them?
I probably didn't. It's on the Crappie Connection YouTube channel, and it was put out last Wednesday night. I had fun, and kind of the backstory to that day was I showed up to the boat ramp waiting on a client and never showed up. So I was like, you know what? Let me go out. It's like the perfect day to go out, and I had my cameras with me and threw them on the boat and went out and just had an absolutely blast. And too bad that guy didn't show up that day, but I had fun.
Reggie said he used a pink head June bug black. Ooh, hair jig. Hey, that's a deadly color right there. I can't, I shouldn't even ask him. I can't believe he just put that poison on there. Y'all take note to that color right there. Reggie will stick them. That's David, good color.
You're asking about long line and jigs, about the line, how much line to put out, and it kind of goes back to last one when we talked about long line a lot, just a good old cast. And what I mean by that's about 60, 80 feet out. That's kind of my rule of thumb. I use 6 pound test mono.
Long lining thing. Don't get him started now. Take it easy, fellas.
I will long line all the rest of this week. That's my plans.
Is it really? Even at Sardis?
Yep.
Okay. Now, how long are you going to be there for that?
I'm leaving in the morning, or that's my plans at the moment, and fishing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday there.
Oh, man, that'll be a fun vacation, won't it?
It will be. It definitely will be.
Guiding there, or are you just vacationing?
I'm guiding the next 2 days there.
Got you.
And then Friday and Saturday, like I said, we're going to do some stuff with crappie magnet guys and B&M guys and cornfield fishing folks. So it'll be a real fun thing, and can't wait to get up there and get to go fishing somewhere else. What size with the mayflies? Okay. Greg, on that video that I shot, that normally what I'm using is a 1/8 is, well, that was out of nowhere. A 1/8 is actually what I've been using a lot. Oh, cool. Carlos, he's coming up. I got your SD card. I owe you, buddy. Hunter's still working on the video that I shot with Carlos, I guess about a month ago. I think he's about through with it. He said that we shot a lot of that video that day. We were showing people on the TikTok live as we was doing instead of the camera. But, we were out there having fun. And even if we don't get a video, man, I had fun that day, Carlos.
Yeah, I was looking forward to seeing that one. Come on, man.
Yeah. Yep. And people saying the same thing about.
He said he's going to come out and see you at Sardis, maybe, huh?
Yep. There's Eric. He's showing a Lake Shelbyville in Illinois is on fire right now, pulling hoagie crankbaits.
Hoagie.
Ounce and 3/4 weights, gets the baits down to 15, 20 feet with 30 feet of line out.
Torch's guide service said they smoked them on Sardis today. Uh-oh. Sardis might be on fire, it sounds like.
Torch, you can shoot me a text message, and hopefully see you in the morning.
A couple waypoints there, Torch, it sounds like.
I've got an idea where I'm starting at right now. I hadn't been to Sardis really in about, probably 5 years, but
Wow.
Holiday Lodge area is probably gonna be my starting area, and kind of head back towards the dam from there. Put them long lines out and stretch them out and let it rock.
That'll be cool. You gonna take some video while you're down there, hopefully?
Yep, that's the plan, and it's gonna be a fun next 4 days. I'm sure Torch will be there with us as well. So, guys, if you're up at Sardis and you see the Crappie Connection boat, make sure you come over there and say hey. Get people to do it all the time on Barnett, and I appreciate everybody doing that every week or every day.
You can't miss that big old barge. Just look around and see it.
And like on I know on Crappie Connection right now that we're a little bit over 8,500 subscribers, so we're getting closer to that 10K, and then I'll make a new little funny slogan for everybody to post every week. So we're getting closer to our goal on the YouTube side of things. If you're watching first time, make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel, even on Facebook. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you hit follow and subscribe. It helps us out, shows these sponsors that we're doing something for them and helping you guys out. And if you got questions when it comes to crappie fishing, make sure you go ahead and post them up. Like I said, there is you're not going to learn unless you ask. And like I said, we have enough guys on here from Torch to, man, you name it. That's Carlos, Matt England. I seen him sign Chad Rogers. We've got some really good guys that help us out every week with these questions if we're not even able to get it to them. So make sure you ask them anytime you got them. We're here to help you guys out.
Jacob Stevenson put a heck of a fishing report there. Fall River Lake, I found the big females Saturday. They were all suspended from the top to the bottom, chasing shad 6 to 12 foot of water. I did a lot of casting. Seemed that you just had to get it near them, and that was a solid reaction bite. His bait of choice was a Cutthroat Jig Company crawl color and a purple and gold 16th hair jig, 1/16 hair jig. Awesome, Jacob. Sounds like you put a whooping on him. Crawl's got to be a color with probably some orange in it, I bet. Maybe some darkish red. I'm not sure, but if I'm guessing, that's what it'd have, and it sounds like a deadly color to me. I actually pulled this out of the bag for that reason. This is that red chartreuse glitter, and that is a killer one too. I was going to show you guys this time. That's top 5 baits right there, and it's got a crawl look to it a little bit as well.
I got Mac Toon. He's saying when they get finicky with me, I go to a natural browns and greens on hair jigs and white Bobby Garland monkey milk. Go down to a 1/32 ounce jig head.
I can agree to that one. Good little tip there.
Any dock fishing tips for Taneycoma? I'm not sure where that is. Dustin's Dustin's a big dock shooter, fishes a lot of docks, so maybe you can give him some tips on fishing docks.
I would say for summer, I would go to the deeper docks, and then it's all a timing thing. I don't dock shoot a lot, but I'd say I fish docks 80% of the time, and I have to do it the right time because I have clients and we can't dock shoot. I can't teach somebody how to dock shoot in a small amount of time in a quarter of a day. So we'll roll out towards this time of year. We'll go out towards the main water, and don't be afraid to jump into like 80 foot of water if they have it. It's all about, like, the fish will still stage 10, 12 foot. They just like deeper water out on the main lake. And then first thing in the morning, when that sun's coming up, you'll have a pitch of the shade, and it'll kick that shade way over. And those fish, especially when it's hot now, that water's getting real hot, they want that shade, so they'll move out to that shade. And you can roll up to those docks and fish that dock for a couple hours until the shade will finally go under, until about 11 or 12, and then they finally get straight under the docks. But go out towards the main lake and just start covering docks. Side imaging can pick up those crappie really well, and you can just check from there. But follow the shade, and the denser the shade, the bigger the crappie. So that's about all I got for that one. You can, if you have a live scope, of course, it don't lie. You can find them easy, but a side imaging is just as deadly on docks. That's what I did before live scope.
Sound like something fell here. Brad, all right. I'm trying to catch up with every comment here, so I don't want to forget anybody. Upstate New York, fishing tub, finding good fish, catching small blacks on timber in shallow water. Water temperature has been in the high 60s. Appreciate that from Lee up there in New York, man, that's awesome. Kevin, let me show this one. Drifting double rigs, nothing started. Half crawler rigs knocked the snot out of them. Always bring night crawlers with you. Save the day. I don't know about crappie fishing here with night crawlers. Hey, it may work.
Hey, you never know. If you hook it on right, I bet it would.
Chad Rogers out in front of Hurricane Landing. All right.
You're way behind, Brad. You got to catch
Yeah,
up.
no.
Late. Jacob Stevenson said, "What's y'all's line preference for casting and dock shooting?" Man, I haven't found the perfect line yet, but if I'm going to go size-wise, I'd say 6 to 8 pound. I'm starting to get smaller. I used to go super heavy, but I just think everything goes a lot smoother with lighter line. You just can't get crazy with them. 8 pound, you can boat flip a 2 pounder just fine. So 6 to 8 pound, you're set. And then, I'd say as far as the line exactly, it all works, and I haven't found the perfect line yet. One of these weeks, we've got to go over spooling a reel and stuff, because that can be such a headache and so frustrating. So equipment, we need to run over some equipment one of these weeks and do our line and pull all that set up. So we'll do that soon.
I'm going to catch back up with comments in a minute, but, we talked about this week is going to be the top 5 patterns for fishing summertime. And, I go back and I think of the summertime, and the door is actually wide open when it comes to crappie fishing as far as the summertime goes. Right now for me, casting the brush piles on deep ledges or semi-deep ledges is probably my number one pattern that I really am concentrating here on. Just like I said, the next couple of days, I'm going up to Sardis and I'm going to pull jigs. That's just what I've got in my mind. That pattern I really want to focus on and really get out there and play with, because I miss it. It's just such a fun technique that I don't get to do as much, or haven't done as much since live sonar. So I want to get it back out there and get to relaxing. And I threw my Bimini top on this afternoon, so I'm going to pull jigs the next couple of days. That's another great summertime pattern that we don't want to overlook and don't forget. And I would say, just like, the question comes in about dock shooting in the summertime. I know here, Eagle Lake and even on Ross Barnett, if you can find some deep water piers, they're usually loaded. And it's just a fun way that possibly you can get out of the sunlight, getting some shadows, some piers, and actually shoot some docks and stay out of the middle of the sun. Another really good summertime pattern for me is pulling crankbaits. We've talked about this before. When I started really crappie fishing, I looked at different techniques that really interested me a lot. And pulling crankbaits was definitely one of those techniques that it wasn't a whole lot of guys doing it back then. And I'm talking, 12, 13, 14 years ago, wasn't a whole lot of guys doing it at all. I read about it a couple of magazines. We had, I'm trying to think of that, Crappie World. I'm sure some other guys that's watching it and listening to tonight can relate, but it used to be a magazine called Crappie World that I read every issue that I could get my hands on. And I read a couple of issues on pulling crankbaits and went out there and really played with it. And so that would be probably my top 4. And I'm going to let Dustin kind of go through some of his patterns.
Yeah. Somebody also just asked too if he had any pointers if you didn't have a live scope with no live scope.
Yeah.
And with summer pattern, we'll jump back to that. Just remind me because it's clicked off. But with summer patterns, like you kind of said, there's several ways to do it. It's kind of like you can pick. It's the one time a year you can pick your strength and go with it. So whatever you have confidence in, you can pick and go for it. So I'm always going for numbers of fish instead of trophy hunting while I'm running with clients, and the big fish will come even when you're setting on big schools of fish. So I'll run for brush piles, big congregation of fish on brush piles and docks. Those are my 2 favorite ways to do it. There is suspended fish as well. I see people out there pulling crankbaits. So that's 3 right there that you can go within a quarter mile. I can show you all 3 people doing all 3 of those things. So, and we'll vertical jig on the brush. You cast to them. Those are 2 different techniques too that take a different type of skill. So a lot of different ways.
Even standing timber, which that would probably be my last of the top 5, would be standing timber. I've not really known to fish a lot of standing timber just because I got a deep V boat and it can be really a pain in the butt to get in the standing timber. But it's hollow. So, when I started crappie fishing, that was another technique that you'd see all these guys out there on the lake doing. And they caught fish way before live scope fishing standing timber, just fishing what they can see. And I remember a buddy of mine, Hugh Cruz, that's from here in Mississippi, and him quoting him, I'm going to quote him on this, is, you fish the timber that have vertical limbs coming out, not vertical, horizontal limbs coming out, because they were looking for shade. He said, when I'm out on the lake and I'm up on an umbrella or whatever, but these fish are looking for shade because it's hot out there. That's what he really keyed in. So, we go back and we talk about all these different techniques, and we're not just talking about you got to have a live scope to get out there and catch crappie. Summertime is probably about the best time of the year in my mind that you don't need live scope to catch crappie.
Yeah, exactly. Bo Tisdale got on there and told the guy that Crappie Cajun LLC, he said, shoot the docks of the channel swings under it if possible. Usually hold fish with no live scope needed. And I can attest to that. Before I had live scope, that's all I did was main lake in the summer, would side scan the docks. And most docks are going to hold. Some will be hotter than others, and there's not a big reason to that. But if you're just wanting to catch fish, I would be hitting those up. And I would start on one side of the dock and just fish it out. Fish that side for a few casts, and then move in a little bit. Fish a few casts, move in a little bit. And when you find them, usually there's a big school of them there because they really congregate in the summer compared to other times of year. So if you catch one there, usually there's a lot more where it came from. And the depth, when you cast in there, remember how deep you were, because they'll usually set the same depth too. They won't be super scattered on the depth.
Steve, to answer your question, have you used planer boards when trolling? Now, I've used them to pull crankbaits. I used them a lot of times whenever the water was clear and the fish were really shallow in the water column. It was really when I liked using planer boards. Other than that, I really never used them a whole lot pulling jigs. But for crankbaits, I have. Holden coming to Pillahatchee July 6th through night, bringing kids to the park when they catch some slabs one day. Hey, just give us a shout, bro. Don't forget about the green lights. Very interesting there. I didn't think about that with night fishing. I haven't done a whole lot of night fishing.
Speaking of docks, out here at Grand in the summer, like right now, all the way till August, if you go out there at night and find these certain dock owners will have those bright, just LED lights off the corners, and I've had trip of lifetimes on those. And what happens is, so I don't know if you've noticed this or not, Brad, but if you have a brush pile that's full of fish in the summer, if you go right before dark, it's empty. There's not one fish in that brush pile. And it's like they all pick up off the brush, and all the shad, if you've noticed, they move all to the top of the surface water, and those crappie are up there just going crazy. Well, in the summer, they do that here big time. They come out from under the docks. All your summer spots are empty. And from 5 p.m. to the next morning about 7 a.m., from 5 p.m. to 7 a.m., they go on a feeding frenzy and take off. And those dock lights will hold just piles of fish. And there'll be big catfish under them, crappie and shad, though. It'll be like, it'll be a dream to look at on the live scope. But without live scope even, you can go to those lights on docks off of channel swings or main lake and really wreck them big time. Been there, done it. And use a darker jig. The green lantern is a really good color to use, but you can destroy them at nighttime here at Grand doing that.
Nothing that
we forgot about some nighttime fishing.
I've done it a lot. I wouldn't say
I'm always sleeping nowadays.
Yeah. We used to fish a lot in the spawn really, really early in the morning and at night whenever fish were on the bank spawning. And a lot of what I'm talking about is along the riprap and just strolling, I guess is the old terminology, especially you guys from the Midwest would call it, whenever you're just holding two poles and you're just kind of bouncing them off the bottom. Strolling was real popular for nighttime fishing here, at least on the Ross Barnett. It was
That's crazy. And we have a lot of fishermen that dump the lights off their boat and do really well doing that. They go near bridge pillars or, other lakes I know that are around here. They'll go and drop lights at like midnight, 1 o'clock. They'll drop them by the, it's like a spillway. and they will destroy them doing that too. They'll just pile up white bass and crappie, and it seems like they do really well dropping the lights.
Another thing I want to mention, I've had this question asked a whole bunch, and I guess over the last year, is about Lake Washington, and I wanted to bring it up real quick. And I've been emailing back and forth with Mississippi Department of Wildlife Fisheries about Lake Washington, and like I said publicly before, that I believe that lake's been hurt a little bit from a lot of different factors. I don't think it was overfished. I don't think it was live scope. I don't think it was yo-yos. I think it was the perfect storm kind of hit that lake and kind of put a damper on it. But on July 13th, the Department of Wildlife having a public meeting that, especially if you're in the state of Mississippi or even nearby, we want to have a big presence there as far as crappie fishermen goes. I know the guys from Crappie Forever, they've been really supportive, coming up with ideas and different things to really go after Lake Washington and see if we can make a statement with crappie fishermen and say, hey, we want this lake to turn around and be what it used to be. But the Department of Wildlife, like I said, they're going to have a public meeting at Leroy Percy State Park on July 13th. And I'm going to mention it every Tuesday night because I'm planning on being there. And I would greatly support everybody if you can go ahead and put it in your calendars. And let's see if we can get some really good regulations and some changes and see what their ideas are as far as Lake Washington goes. I know these guys are working hard. They've done a lot of research up that lake this past wintertime, from netting to shocking to trapping, and everything you can think of on the research side of things. But we want to see what it is, and we want our Department of Wildlife to know that we have a lot of crappie fishermen that are wanting to get that lake back in the condition that it used to be. And I think that's what Crappie Forever stood for, and that's what really made me reach out to these guys and kind of partner up with them when it comes to caps and even shirts and different things. But we want to, be conscientious of the crappie populations in different lakes and what's happening in these different lakes. And if we all stand together and say, hey, let's put some better regulations on this lake, let's restock it or whatever. So if you're in the Mississippi area and you have any kind of concerns about Lake Washington, make sure you come over on Leroy Percy State Park on July 13th. I'll be there, and we'll see what we can get going with that lake up there. It'll be really interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to hear from you how that all goes.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be an interesting thing, and I absolutely love that lake. A lot of other guys in the nation. So it'll be really interesting to see how we can get this lake to turn around and be what it wants to be.
Yeah. Tommy asked me if I'm talking about Oklahoma. Yes, it's actually called Grand Lake O' the Cherokees. So yeah, when you're looking it up, it's an O apostrophe and then the Cherokees, Grand Lake. But yeah, it's in Oklahoma. I guess there's a couple Grand Lakes, and I forget that on Facebook. A lot of people.
There's one in Mississippi.
Is there really?
Yeah, it's an Oxbow Lake.
Wow.
Let me repeat that. No, that's in Arkansas. Excuse me, I'm thinking of a Mississippi Oxbow, River Oxbow Lake, but it's Grand Lake in Arkansas. Another thing that I want to bring up, like I said, definitely Bobby Garland. Cannot appreciate those guys, what they've done for us, and doing this every week and supporting the crappie fishing industry as well. And there's a lot of other good sponsors out there that's helping this sport grow and trying to take advantage of it and take care of it as well. So definitely appreciate everybody sponsoring the Crappie Connection and support. Another really cool thing coming out this week, which this is not one of them, but we've got new sun hoodies coming out this week from Crappie Forever, the Crappie Connection hoodies. Now, I want to say one's a navy dark blue, and the other one's I guess a dark gray, light black, whatever you would call that. I requested those colors just because whenever I'm live scoping, I like using these darker colors. That way the reflection doesn't shine so hard on the screen. So I like wearing darker colors whenever I'm using my live scope. and that's why the two new colors coming out. And I know they got a really wide range of sizes coming as well. So be on the lookout for those new Crappie Connection hoodies on Crappie Forever. And I think they'll be available by the weekend or the first of next week. But these caps are available right now if you guys are wanting a good cap and you want to support crappie fishing. Crappie Forever, we got you guys covered. Let me see if I missed anything on that. Like I said, if you got any kind of questions, guys, let's throw them out there. Here's a good little time. We got a little standstill, which we'll see if we got any, some good questions coming up. Make sure I didn't pass anybody up as well. Bo Tisdale, man, appreciate you jumping on, Bo. He's another stick out there too. What are you doing? No. What happened to their Dustin? We'll see what goes on. Can anybody hear Dustin? If not, we'll. I can't hear you, Dustin. What's up, Jerry Heyman? What's up, brother? Scooter, I believe the meeting, it doesn't say on my email, but I read somewhere else. I believe it's 7 p.m. He gone. Everybody's saying you're gone. Dustin, can you do sign language? Michael Drake, what technique would you recommend from a kayak? You know, I think casting would be my first technique that I would really go to. Crazy. When it comes to kayaking, I would actually get out there and cast for some of them. Jacob, what kind of things would you like to see change on Lake Washington? You know, that's a pretty detailed question to ask, but one, I would like the possession limit to be lowered from 7-day to 3-day. I would like the daily limit to go from 30 to really 15 would be ideal. And I would like the size limit to go from 11 inches to 12 inches. Those three combinations would be fantastic. I like this. You can't interrupt me. I like this. Keep that up, Dustin. Keep it up. Yeah, no, Roy, Dustin muted himself somehow. What is the average water temperature to create a thermocline? I think there's a couple ones. I would think around 90 degrees. I've always noticed thermoclines. Also, the very first thing that always gives away a thermocline for me is whenever you drive over a spillway and it smells like rotten eggs. I know here on Ross Barnett, if I drive over the spillway itself and it smells like rotten eggs, I know there's a hard thermocline set up in the lake. Also pretty easy to see on these fish finders. From Live Scope will pick it up. Of course, Down Image picks it up pretty well. But anything 85, 90 degrees, especially 90 degrees, if there's not a lot of wind, a thermocline is going to set up. Charles asked me, going to fish stumps at the box cover, what do I think? I don't know, never heard of the box cover. That's something new to me. Kyle Thompson, I'll call in. Well, it's in the afternoon. I didn't mute Dustin, Chad. He muted himself. We don't know what he did. He don't know what he did either. No, I ain't calling you. Does the water ever get clear on the res? Haven't seen it clear since I've been here. You know, Steve, the clearest this water is going to get is about 1.5 feet, pushing 2 foot. But as far as clear, that's going to be clear water for here on the res. Are you seeing a decline in fish or quality calling for the changes? I'm on Reelfoot, and they put a size limit on last year, but refused to change the limit from 30 to 20 or 15. You know, we've seen a decline here in the last really 3 years. I've seen the population on that lake decline. I like this. I've seen the overall volume of fish really go down. Another factor I think that kind of actually hurt this lake was I think we had some major flooding issues, and I think it caused something to do with the spawn. Now, I'm no biologist, so I can't say exactly what. You had to mute yourself, Dustin. Steve asking, is pulling crankbaits as effective with black crappie as white crappie? And I'm going to say white crappie is the, let me see how to phrase this. White crappie suspend more, and they usually, for me, like a little bit bigger baits. So I'd say white crappie are really a key focal when it comes to pulling crankbaits. I'm not saying black crappie won't hit crankbaits, because they definitely will. Chad Rogers is requesting you to make balloon animals. Or sucker fish. There you go. We'll keep going here a little while. What I'm looking for when I'm pulling crankbaits without thermocline, I'm looking for areas that's holding shad balls. And if I'm looking for just flat out suspended fish, I'm looking for an area that has shad balls that are really tight together, grouped up together. So if I can find an area that's the shad is really grouped and bunched up together, or I'm going to look for areas that I can see fish sitting on stumps or something that I can pull the crankbaits over the top of. That's the two answers I guess I would give on that question. Guys, I think we about hit the Dustin mark here. He's silent. He done lost his voice. I think he's lost his voice tonight for whatever reason. But it's been great as always. Make sure you hit subscribe. Let's get to that 10K crappie connection, guys. We are getting closer inch by inch every week. And if you missed last week's video when it comes to the Mayfly and how to use them, go back and take a look at it. And if you got any kind of questions about it, give us a shout. I like this. He's kind of like the model, the silent model. How great is this? What color is it? That is Spring Fling. I read your lips. That's good. But appreciate everybody joining in every week. Don't know what happened to Dustin. Let me see if I get some more questions. Dustin, what is your phone number? I'm going to get some people some trips. 417 437 5047. Now, hopefully everybody got that. You can read his sign language. If not, it's been fun. It's always fun. Let me see if I'm going to make sure I didn't get anybody left on questions before we get out of here. Tommy Jones, what's up there, Mr. Tommy Jones? Finger Commander. Have you swung the jig by them? Scooter. Scooter, give me a shout. We'll talk more about Lake Washington as well, and we'll talk about it every week and maybe get a good game plan for everybody meeting that night and really showing a big support and hoorah for that lake. Till next time, you got Brad Chappell here, and you got this is great, guys. Maybe we'll do the skin and mute Dustin again next week. I don't know yet. Till next time, guys, holler. We'll see you.